Thank you, Antoine, and welcome to all of the Centrallia guests present for this Doing Business in Canada seminar. My name is Rick Reese, and my role today is to give you a roadmap of what a successful international program might be in doing business in Canada, where trade really fits in terms of what you need to know. And I want to build upon what the previous presenters have already stated. The preparation of your business case to do business in Canada includes many questions as to how to set up and doing business here, and many of those questions have already been answered and partially answered. TDS is an excellent single point of reference and accountability to enable you to set up here. Our role as a strategic partner with TDS is to provide the insight of what you need to know regarding the import-export requirements and customs laws and regulations as it pertains to moving goods into and through Canada, and also an export from Canada. GHY is uniquely qualified in many ways. We are here in the heart of the continent in Winnipeg, where our head office is, and having been established since 1901. We are a fourth generation family-owned business that employs over 100 customs and trade professionals. We manage more than $5 billion of trade into Canada from every continent. And we also have a significant export business, primarily to the U.S. and Canadian exporters on shipments to the U.S. The point that I want to speak to next is really give you a context of the macro trade perspective for those that are looking at doing business in Canada. The first thing that many of you will want to know is what is the real news on doing business in Canada and or the U.S.? What kind of environment am I entering into? What are the risks that we need to know as we explore the possibilities of this marketplace? Well, Canada is a tremendous country to do business in. And for those that are outside of North America and are thinking in third world or developing terms, Canada is very stable politically. It is very reasonably regulated. There's a great deal of trust and predictability to the system. There also is a strong sense of order and obedience to the rule of law. And at the end of the day, we have a very safe and secure trade environment. Everything is above board, and there's very, very defined rules. And a lot of those rules relative to trade are defined to the World Trading Organization, of which Canada is a signatory. Canada's primary trade partner is the United States. 50% of Canada's $400 billion of annual imports are from the U.S., and 70% of Canada's close to $400 billion of exports goes to the U.S. It's a dominant relationship, and it's governed by the North American Free Trade Agreement. It's important because, number one, with the United States and Canada, the access and the proximity and the opportunity really makes Canada a gateway to North America, especially when you look at the essence of the U.S. market, which is still 20+% of the world economy. International trade and the movement of goods into and out of Canada are highly regulated and governed by the Canada Border Services Agency in Canada and Customs Border Protection in the U.S. The reporting of all of this stuff is highly automated, it's very predictable, and there's a very systematic methodology to report information on all goods as they move across the borders. The driving dynamic to goods moving into Canada or into the U.S. is governed by two prime issues. One, security, and the other, compliance. Security is obvious because since 9/11 in 2001, that overriding objective of security has meant that customs regimes have refocused their energies to keen on and identifying risk by putting importers and exporters through risk programs and forcing the advanced reporting of all information prior to goods arriving at North American borders. Adherence to compliance, the second major priority, is strictly enforced by fines and penalties. The end result of this is that the detail regarding all shipments entering Canada or the U.S. needs to be reported in advance and in sufficient detail to allow for goods to move across the border without interruption. The timely transmission of this detailed commercial information gives you and leads to a system where there are few delays except by a very random or targeted enforcement measure by the customs authorities. There's other cross-border passports you need to be aware of, and you can qualify for these things to help you reduce your costs by becoming a member of Customs Trade Partnership Against Terrorism, which is a security program in the US, or a Partner in Protection program in Canada, which we encourage many of our customers to take part in, again, to help reduce potential delays at the border. So moving from the macro environment, we want to really talk now about the integrated trade strategy that you need to evolve and develop as you have your commercial considerations in entering Canada. Obviously, globalization and the incredible growth and diversity of trade demands a focus on continuously calibrating your international trade strategy. There's a pre-evaluation that often takes place. The business case for growing your business or setting up in Canada has to happen, and that your work that's done already or what you've already are going to be exploring here at Centrallia is about setting the table for understanding the profitability opportunities of participating in the Canadian or North American marketplace. Your situation may be as simple as selling your product directly into Canada, establishing a joint venture, setting up a business presence in Canada through a manufacturing or distribution channel, or in more complex situations where you may be requiring to set up a plant that, for instance, might be some that we've worked on. We've brought in mines, we've brought in all of the mining equipment associated with that. We brought in a chocolate factory into Brantford, Ontario, a $100 million plus factory for the manufacturing of chocolate. Or it might even be a beef facility for processing Alberta beef. All of those plants and equipment and machinery come in, and we manage that, and it's an important part of how you might consider in your evaluating of your business, doing business in Canada. The other thing you need to do is develop your core team to partner with you to enable your business objectives and to create the framework from which you will launch. Critical to developing a roadmap is to have someone such as TDS, Thompson Dorfman Swetman, as a single point of accountability to do that. And we've already talked about the benefits of looking at all those factors prior to your setup. GHY, as one of their partners, can provide the customs and trade assessment for all of your cross-border issues. It can help you arrive at landed costs, compliance with the customs laws. There's many other government departments that get involved in cross-border movements, so we can advise in that area. And also talk about any risks or potential issues that may arise depending upon your specific import or export dynamic. So at the end of the day, as you have completed your strategy, the roadmap of what you want to have in front of you, or what you have in front of you now, are the key components of a successful international program. As we've talked about, firstly, number one, choose your partners. Choose those that have experience in doing the things that you're looking at wanting to do here. Secondly, determine your business case. That's a multitude of things looking at your assessed landed costs and your supply chain requirements. Next, and in the same vein, look at all of the trade agreements that could provide a trade advantage for setting up in Canada and accessing other markets from Canada. Again, that gateway to North America discussion that I mentioned. The largest relationship for Canada is NAFTA, which is the North American Free Trade Agreement. However, there are many other preferential bilateral agreements that Canada has with some others, and that includes many countries in Europe. It might be Chile, it might be the Caribbean, Israel, Mexico, etc., many developing countries. And there are benefits there that come to or are offered to you if you are doing business with those countries from and within Canada. So there's opportunities that shouldn't be overlooked. There are many programs for traders setting up in Canada where you could essentially act the same as a free trade zone, which allows for trade cost deferral or reduction. There's programs to recapture duty paid on certain products that are coming in and going out of Canada. There also in your roadmap should be an assessment of any products entering in Canada where there might be any trade actions against those products. There could be dumping duties. It could be based upon, we've seen it in bearings into the US, or steel coming into Canada, or various other commodities in the agricultural world, etc. So that needs to be vetted, and need to filter some of those other gotchas that might catch you in the trade environment. Remember also that the border people, they monitor and manage more than 30 different government departments in terms of some of the realities of what they need as oversight that happens at the border. So Customs is not only looking at the movement of goods, but the Department of Agriculture and all these other different government departments can have an eye on this as well, which Customs at the border monitors. And that might be food inspection or quotas, etc. So you need to have someone that can point into those potential risks. What all of this says at the end of the day is that there is an important filtering of these issues as you set up in Canada. It doesn't need to be daunting, and the importance of picking knowledgeable partners is invaluable. And you'll find that doing business in Canada has many rewards. The right partners means no surprises, a seamless execution, and a successful Canadian trade program. Like anything else, the better you do your front-end work, the due diligence, then the greater the success that you will achieve. Thank you for your kind attention. Enjoy the conference and the hospitality of what Central Manitoba and Winnipeg has to offer.